Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Building and Grounds Committee on Thursday, November the 14th. I'm asking for a roll call, please.
Ms. Parker?
Present.
Mr. Hunter?
Present.
Mr. Hess?
Present.
Mr. Eckhoff? Mr. Dunno?
Present.
Mr. Kirkstra?
Present.
Mr. Smith?
Present.
Miss Armour Earps? Mr. Ashcraft? Ms. Monday? Mr. Marion? Mr. Alexander Hildebrand?
Do we have a we have a quorum? Wonderful, wonderful. Nothing's been presented for public comment. I'm going to call public comment one more time. Okay, moving on to the approval of minutes. Entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Donnell. Any additions or corrections? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? What? I got my micro. There's my micro. Do I need to talk louder? Yes. I need to talk louder. Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Smith, a second by Mr. Donnell. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Do we have any presentations this morning?
No presentation.
No presentations? Okay. Oh, this is gonna be hard. Okay. Mr. Andrews, would you like to give the last report?
Sure.
Committee?
As you can see, the first item on the agenda is the introduction of the new maintenance director, who's sitting to my left. This is Ted Workman. So I've worked with Ted. He's been here about a week now. We've worked side by side. I think he's made it through all the buildings. He's met all the employees, and he's really hit the ground running. So I feel Ted's going to do an excellent job here. A little bit of background on Ted, and I'll let him say a few words. But from the construction industry, is very familiar with many of the components of both residential and commercial construction. So he's going to be a nice fit here. As well as his knowledge of HVAC systems, plumbing systems. He's already dug into a lot of the problems that we're facing right now, a lot of the work orders that we have, various situations that we're dealing with. He's wasted no time rolling up his sleeves and getting involved. So I feel you're going to be in excellent hands. And my last day will be November 22nd. But as I've told the sheriff and Ted, for anything that I missed or anything maybe system related with the computers, I'm happy to still, help out, and there's probably nothing that I can't, do via phone call or whatever. But he's, like I said, he's done very well. I got another week with him. I think the transition will be as smooth as it possibly can be. But undoubtedly, when you deal with as much as what we deal with, there may be something that slips through the cracks. And if that were to happen, I'll certainly help out however I can. Everybody here has been good to me, and I plan on extending that courtesy after I'm gone. So with that, Ted, if you want to say a few words.
Good morning. So yes, the transition is in effect. Hopefully you bear with me as I progress in through this. Like I said, I am skilled and knowledgeable in many aspects of the construction businesses, and I have hit the ground running. I've been at some of these places 6 o'clock in the morning, making sure I get a good grip on what's coming up and what is being brought to us through subcontractors and everything else going on. Once again, it's a diligent thing for the next couple of months for me, but I'm going to make it work. And if you have some sort of issues that I've missed, please present it to me again, and we will do the best to keep this place running smoothly, efficiently, and effectively.
Wonderful. Thank you. Welcome, Ted.
Thank you.
Welcome to Kankakee County.
Good
Sheriff?
morning. Good morning. I just want to say a couple things to let the committee know the process that we went through. We actually had 6 candidates apply. We had a committee that conducted the interviews. Of those 6, they were all excellent candidates. So we were fortunate in that respect that we had a number of good qualified people who applied. But Ted certainly stood out above the rest, and his selection by the committee was unanimous, and the committee included the county board chairman, and the undersheriff and our chief of corrections. Obviously, the majority, as you guys know, the majority of work and bills and big expenses come from the two buildings that operate 24/7. So we felt really comfortable with the candidates we had, and we feel very confident in what Ted will do. And with that said, I'd also like to recognize Wes for the time that he has been here. That doesn't rhyme, Mr. Hunter. There's a T on the end. But with all kidding aside, Wes has done a great job. It is not an easy job, and Wes in that position has to be available 24/7. And Wes was available 24/7 when he called, when we called, when somebody called. Everything got done. He was such an asset to this county, and we are sad to see him go, but we certainly wish him well in his new position, and we look forward to working with Ted over the next 40 or 50 years, Ted, maybe?
If I live that long.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Mr. Alexander?
And I'd like to echo those statements. I want to thank Wes personally. He has been fantastic with communication between myself and him since I've onboarded as the chairman. We're losing a huge asset, like Sheriff said. I'm going to miss the conversations between me and you, but I'm happy we found a good replacement in Teddy, and I hope we can move forward into the future. So, but thank you for everything you've done,
Thank you.
Wes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Mr. Hunter?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'd just like to echo the sentiments of the sheriff and our chairman regarding Wes. I still say Wes is the best.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're a pro, Wes. Anytime I've called you,
Thank you.
you have tremendous skill sets. You're candid. You never blindsided us. And I know I was talking to, Ben Wilson or somebody. I said, you know anything? Wes always advised us of what's happening and what the future may bring in terms of issues. So, and your reports are so definitive and comprehensive and stuff. So, a lot of times we had just sit back and just listen and we were just like sponges because you imparted so much information, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Ted, you got some big shoes to fill, and we welcome you with open arms. We'd like to work with you, interface with you, project things that need to be done. Hey, I'd like to think of us as being a family and working together. We're not always going to agree on everything, right, Mr. Smith? But we'll work with you.
Oh, great.
Thank you, Mr.
Welcome
Hunter.
again.
Well,
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate all those comments. I really do. And as I look back on my tenure here, I feel as though given all the projects and all the things that we've accomplished, I mean, I can't even think of all of them, from LED light conversions to the steps at the courthouse, various remodels, roofs, the work that's being done at the old jail, and the list goes on. So, I mean, I certainly hope that, I certainly enjoyed working with all of you. And I think, together we're gonna be leaving the county buildings in a better place currently than where they were when I took over. And I believe Ted has the skill set and the acumen to, continue that. So I would expect him to stay the same when he decides that he's ready to move on someday. So with that said, we'll go into the building report, which is the next item. Ted's coming in at a busy time. There's a lot going on right now. At 189, of course, we're getting ready for winter. We're going through plow trucks that we have, our salt spreaders that we have, all of our snow blowers, making sure everything is operational. We just got one truck out of the shop that's ready to go for the winter. And then I'm training Ted and, you know, asking him to come up with maybe some different ideas with regard to snow plowing. I mean, I have the way that I did it, but, you know, if he's got, you know, ideas as to how he would like to handle snow plowing, you know, with regard to calling in employees after hours, what times they come in to get the county buildings ready. So we'll go over all that, and together, you know, hopefully before I leave, we'll hammer out a plan that that will work and continue to provide that service to the county as we have for the last almost 7 years. If you've been outside in the front, we had a contractor come in and replace that crumbling mortar at the base of the granite at the front doors. They also epoxied the concrete in front of the front doors, so that looks a lot better. The assessor door update, if you recall, we decided at committee to go ahead and install a half door, if you will, for the assessor. That would be a little more secure than what he currently has. The door is due in, I believe, middle of next week, and they're hopeful that maybe the end of next week they can come out and get started on the framing of that and getting that door put in. And then also with that project is going to be the addition of a new swipe card reader on that door, so those employees or any employee that would have access can just swipe in at that door there going into the assessor's office. So that's something that, you know, Ted will be handling after I leave, but it is in the process. Past that, working on bleeding air for winter. You guys all recall with the boilers in this building, change of seasons are always tough. So we've been bleeding air and getting the building set up for winter operation. Now, Alara update. If you recall, Alara is the company we're working with on the potential HVAC project at this building. I've had conversations with the chairman. We're going to go ahead and engage them. If you recall, we were trying to get that project kind of off and running and have a contractor signed by the end of the year. That was not able to be done. With the amount of due diligence that was going to be required, they advised us to not, if at all possible, let's not rush that. So in talking with Steve McCarty and the chairman and the sheriff, we're going to look at that project, or Ted will look at that project hopefully in the first quarter of next year. And I'm going to, after talking with the chairman, we're going to go ahead and engage them for the engineering portion of that project. So that's something that I will get wrapped up before I'm done here. And then the last item at this building, I've been talking to Ted about the parking lots. They're all in need of restriping. Depending on what kind of weather we have towards the end of the year, if we can get a nice day or a couple nice days, you know, we're going to try to get those get the lots restriped here at 189. Moving on to the courthouse, part of Alara, we engaged them to look at the west side unit at the courthouse. That's very old. I brought Ted up there. He saw it, put eyes on it. That's a project that we're going to push down the road a little bit. You know, it's this building first, and then maybe in the years to come, you know, you can look at that west side unit at the courthouse. We also had a electrical panel replacement that was done. We had an electrical panel down there that was overloaded and needed to be replaced. That was done on Monday of this week during the holiday. So we got the electrician in. They were there for almost 12 hours. It was a long process, but I'm happy to report that that is done. The elevator, we had the elevator inspected. There's no issues with the elevator, but they delayed our permitting on the elevator because of a issue that was uncovered with regard to the fire alarm system there. And something must have happened. It could have been just the age, but the board on the fire alarm system actually was fried. So I had to have a company come in quickly, of course, to get this process moving. So they've been working on replacement of the board. We should be getting that wrapped up this week. It should be wrapped up middle to end of this week. So I need to get with the company that's performing those repairs, get the status update on that. Once that is done, then we have to go back to our inspection company and get the inspection scheduled for the elevator. So that's something that we've been working on.
Oh boy.
And then past that, the elevator update, I've come to the conclusion, and ultimately it'll be up to you folks and Ted as to how you want to proceed. The largest issue that we have with that elevator, it works as it should. Yes, if we have a fluctuation in power, if we have a power surge, it needs to be manually reset. And working with our electrical engineer and working with Coney Elevator, that model of elevator, given its age, does not have an automatic reset on it. So whenever there's a glitch in power, someone has to go up and manually reset the elevator. So whether we, go with a generator or the battery systems that were talked about at this committee, if power is interrupted, you're going to have to reset the elevator. I mean, we can look into maybe a UPS system, putting a UPS on there that might take it during the time where you lose power till where the generator picks it up. But the biggest issue that I see is in the event of a power loss, the elevator is not going to move. So whether that's a generator of some type for just the elevator, if that's a generator for the whole building, that'll ultimately be up to you guys to decide. I was just given rough budget numbers for the elevator only. They were in the vicinity of $250,000. For the whole building, they were in the vicinity of $500,000. So, I mean, I'm of the opinion if you're going to spend $250,000 on just the elevator, why wouldn't you spend a little bit more and do the whole building? Right. But that'll be up to you guys how you want to handle that. But the elevator's not going to move if the power goes out, and that's probably the biggest issue that we have over there right now. So, all right. Annex and Old Jail, we're currently dealing with a boiler issue there. Ted was actually over there this morning. Yeah, he was over there this morning. It's leaking, so we've identified a vendor to help us or assist with that. We've also got a water heater that's down, waiting on parts for that. A couple things that have happened over the last couple weeks. So when they finished up the sealant, the joints on the building, when they finished that up, it was brought to my attention that the window sealant could actually just be pulled out of the windows. So it was completely rotted out of the windows. So I went to the chairman, I went to the sheriff, I went to Steve McCarty. While they are on site, they said they would honor the same linear foot price to do the windows as the price that they provided to do the rest of the exterior. So, and I agree, and they agreed as well. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to spend the kind of money we spent on the whole building and leave windows that are going to leak every time it rains. So we made the decision to go ahead and engage them at the same linear foot price that was bid, and that was run through the state's attorney's office. They were in agreement, didn't have any issues with that. So that's a project that's ongoing. But basically when that's done, that building's going to be in the best shape it's been in probably 20 years. I mean, power washed, tuck pointed, sealed, roofed. I mean, it's going to be in a good spot. The roof is done. Let's see what else we got. The other larger issue that arose, so when they were working on the building, they found a couple, I think about 3 to 4 large limestone panels on that building. So on the exterior of that building is large limestone panels. And when those were installed years ago, they were installed with pins, and that's how they were adhered to the building. Well, given the water issues that we've had there, it should come to no one's surprise that if water gets behind those panels and the, what kind of pins do you think those were? Galvanized back in the day?
Probably steel pins.
Steel pins. So we have some panels that are actually pulling away from the building. So I got with our architect engaged an engineer, and the engineer basically said this is something that needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed fast, because if one of those panels were to do the unthinkable, that would obviously create a rather large issue. So again, talking to the sheriff, the chairman, Steve McCarty, the state's attorney's office, that is a project that in the last couple weeks we've given the go-ahead on that under an emergency situation, because if one of those panels were to actually fall off the building, obviously I don't have to tell you what kind of issues that would create. So that's a project that we've approved on a budget number they gave us was $80,000. It's on a time and material basis because we have to have cranes. Those panels need to come off. They need to figure out why they're failing, potentially make some repairs. And it's kind of an unknown situation at this point until we can get this rectified. And we just had a conference call on this yesterday. I had Ted sit in on it. We hope that that project may start, was it next week?
Depending on weather.
Depending on weather, because I guess it's supposed to rain almost every day next week.
But they were up there visualizing it again today in preparation for Monday.
So that's something else that he'll be working on, because that'll obviously extend past my last day. Out at JCDC, minor issues, dealing with a morgue thermostat issue, working with Bob Gessner and Delta Controls on that. We've got all the showers done. So at this committee, we've talked about the showers. All the showers in Max are done. So that is 3, 6, 7, 8. So we've done 8 showers in Max. And the product looks phenomenal. Let's just hope it lasts. You know, I mean, we have guarantees from the painter that did it. The product they used is highly rated. It can't be touched for 14 days. It's got a cure. But from what I can tell, I hope that we found the solution there for those showers. Now we have more. There's A dorm, there's C dorm, there's other showers that need to be addressed. But if we found the solution, you know, Ted can work on that after I leave. You know, they have to move inmates around because nobody can be in there while they're using this product. So it is kind of a, you know, logistical issue for the correctional facility to get people moved. But, you know, I think we found hopefully a solution that'll work going forward. We also have 2 new washers installed. If you recall, it was going to cost about 60% of the replacement costs to fix our old washers. So we have our new washers installed. That is done. To do that, we had to upgrade the power for the new washers. So that has been done. Those are in place and those are working. Out at Animal Control, we have some issues with the stucco on the exterior of the building in the dog runs. The dogs are, a couple, have clawed at the stucco on the inside the dog runs and have created some pretty large holes, pretty large damage. So Ted is working on a solution. Maybe you want to talk about what you were thinking about doing there with those?
Yeah, so we put out a couple of people to look at them to get some bids back, and we're going to try doing a stainless steel around the entries to the dogs. They're kind of chewing on the edges, and we don't need that. That could cause, you know, detrimental to the dog, number one, and the building is new, and we want to keep that going. So we got some bids out for that to wrap those entryways with some stainless steel and protect them a little bit better.
So he's working on that. Past that, Carrie's discussed with us. So when those guillotine doors close, they're not insulated. So you've just got a metal panel, and obviously in the winter when it gets down to below 0, it's going to be interesting to see how the back of that building heats. So that's something that we've been talking a little bit about, some potential solutions for that. Ted's aware of that as well. So that's something that we'll have to work on. And then past that, the last thing I have is a drain clog. We had a company out yesterday to clear the drain on one of the outside drains. So I believe that's been completed. So that's all I got. So I've kind of given Ted, you know, the overview. I've let him know, you know, to bring as much information as possible to these meetings. And I just realized I missed part of my report, my financial report, which we can do that now. If you want, can we do that now?
Absolutely.
That's the first time I've ever done that.
I didn't want to interrupt you. You were on a roll.
I was on a roll. So the financial report, the theme of this is over budget. You know, a lot of it is in 87,510 for building improvements, and the rest of it is in 56,400, which is service repairs by outside contractors. And part of the reason, and I've said this before, I try to give as much information to everyone here as I can, because at the end of the day, if we're over budget, I want everybody to know why. You know, I don't want you looking at me saying, well,
No.
why in the heck is this? You know, how did this come to be? So if you give them as much information as you can at each meeting, they understand, you know, why things are the way that they are. And, you know, everything else on there looks pretty good. 52-100, we're a little over there as well. But between 52-100, 56-400, and then 87-510, that's where most of the overages are at. So now I think we're done. So
Well, I have a question, if you don't mind.
sure.
The roof at ICANN,
Mhm.
when will that be installed?
They are very nearly done now.
Oh, really?
So
Oh,
yeah,
wow, that's
yeah.
quick.
So their target date, and thank you, I forgot about that.
That's okay.
Their target end date was mid-November, and we're obviously mid-November. So I go by it just about every day, and they're getting close. So I'll get
Great.
a date. I'll get that to Ted. He's familiar with that project. But yeah, that should be done in the short term.
Okay, excellent. That was the only question. Anyone else have a question? Okay, moving on to old business. Any old business that we need to discuss? Any new business? I do want to apologize. I did choke up and start crying. And I gasped too much air and started choking. I mean, it's kind of emotional right now.
Oh,
You know?
you're in good hands, Tinker. You're in good
yes.
hands.
Yeah,
You're in
so
good hands.
Teddy will be great.
Yeah.
Okay, no other business? Well, Mr. Hess. Okay, a motion by Mr. Hess. Second by Ms. Monday. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Have a good day, everybody. And
Easy
have